Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris and welcome back to another LEGO Dreamzzz Summer 2024 review. Today, we'll be checking out Izzie's Dream Animals, a buildable set that allows you to create a ton of different animal creatures out of different brick options. Let's jump into it right now. This is set number 71481, Izzie's Dream Animals. It retails for $40 or 40 euros and comes with only 328 pieces, 2 minifigures, a microfigure, and 2 new animals, putting it at a pretty unfortunate 12.2 cent price per part ratio. That being said, it does include multiple new molds, including an exclusive mold for the set in the form of the gigantic fox head. It also includes some new recolors, one of which isn't even pictured here on this model, a brand new recolor of a new canopy element, as well as recolors of new pieces, including these gigantic macaroni elements. All in all, this is one of the more interesting LEGO Dream sets because this is one of the first ones, aside from one other set in this wave, that focuses primarily on the main gimmick in all LEGO Dream sets in that you can build them into different things. This just takes it so much further. So obviously, as you can see here, you have multiple different options for what you want to build. A fox, a bird, or a turtle. And these are pretty radically different builds. So much so that many alternate pieces are left over with the set when you're done, including a special print for the head of the other characters, which you simply don't even use. Since the set is mostly focused on bringing these alternate building options to life, I definitely feel like not every single one of them feels like the most complete version of the animal, and there's always something left to be desired with each and every one of the builds. Still, I do commend the team for coming up with not one but 2 different alternate builds for what you want this to look like, and they are very, very different. As you can see here, you have one version of the build that has a separate bird. You can even build a catapult on the side using pieces left over, and if you're curious what that actual bird looks like, here is the alternate version of the bird, which you can see is okay. I mean, I feel like the wings are really, really small for what it is, and the head is a little funky, not super sold on the color scheme being primarily orange for the body, but then you have mostly these lavender colors on the side, but I get it, it's an alternate build, so that is the bird. It also does come with, you have the usage of the extra pieces as these plant growths and all that, so again, they're really just trying to come up with different usages of the alternate things, and then you can also choose to turn it into a turtle. Again, another very different animal. So if you don't choose to do the bird, you can choose to do the turtle here, which once I actually am able to pull it up in the instructions, here is the artwork for the turtle. I like that piece of artwork there. That's quite funny, where you can see it swimming through the waves here underwater. And if you're curious as to what the turtle looks like, this is what it looks like right there, which I think is okay as a turtle. I can see it, like I can definitely see the shaping, and this definitely does look like a shell, but then you have all these extra stuff added onto the back, and I'm not really certain that you're making the best usage of all the pieces because you do have these extra growths and plants on the side that really are just there to use up the parts. But it is what it is. Again, I do like the idea and the concept of starting off with literally just this orange body and then coming up with all sorts of different alternate builds for it. But we'll talk about the price in a little bit and how I feel about how that really all came across for this build. And so let's just zoom in on the main build to begin with. I'm going to start off by taking a look at the minifigures as usual here, and we actually do get a pretty nice assortment this time. With Izzie here, you can see that she's been given an update based on the newest season of the TV show, although this exact design hasn't appeared yet. She's sporting a brand new printed cloth element, which is really, really nice. Same hairpiece as last time, but I was a big fan of this transparent and dual molded opalescent hairpiece, definitely a big fan of that, as well as an alternate expression, so you can see one side here and the other side right here. Unfortunately, the one major thing that was designed for this character but not present is dual molding, and it is very, very obvious. As you can see, Izzie is printing on the side of the legs, but when you turn them, the printing and dual molding doesn't continue on the back. This is especially egregious because there are other characters in this set wave, like Mateo, who have printing on the side of the legs that are clearly designed to be dual molded, but they just chose not to dual mold it for Izzie. I guess they figured that she's not as important of a character as Mateo, and they just didn't have the budget to do dual molding, but unfortunately, it makes the legs feel really incomplete, because as you bend it a little further, you can see the non-blue section on the top of the legs here, and then of course rotating backwards, you don't have the dual molding be factored in. It just feels like compromises were made on the design, which maybe was initially very clearly and obviously supposed to be dual molded. Like, this was made to be dual molded, but then they just figured they didn't have enough budget and just couldn't do it. So it's a bit disappointing. It's not the end of the world, and it's still really nice to get printing on the side of the legs. It just feels like a little bit unfortunate that it clearly was designed for that and doesn't have it. And there's a lot of these issues in some other LEGO figures as of late as well. Like LEGO Monkey Kid had figures that had printing on the side of the legs that were supposed to be stretching around the back, but they just kind of ran out of budget. Otherwise, the accessory is really nice, utilizing a brand new element for this wave of LEGO Dreamzzz. It is kind of this hourglass sword style of hilt, which is dual molded with opalescent glitter blue on the side there, so that is a super nice piece, and they've recolored the Ninjago crystallized blade to also be in the transparent opalescent satin blue color, which is super nice. It sparkles in the light the same as her hair, and this is definitely one of the best sword mold designs that they've done for LEGO Dreamzzz. Dizzy, on the other hand, is the evil version of Izzie, and Dizzy is based off of the Season 1 outfit for Izzie, which is pretty much a one-to-one replica, but evil. Unfortunately, all the other versions of Dizzy in the later, larger LEGO Dream sets come with a waist cape, similar to how Izzie had one for her Season 1 appearance, but Dizzy in this set doesn't have it, presumably because they figured it was a cheaper set and they wanted to restrict the best version of the character to those larger sets, and maybe also because for a younger audience, they figured it'd be hard to put the waist capes on. Otherwise, this is a really nicely done character. I like how they recolored the hair in black and transparent pink. That is a super cool design, and you also have this new dual molded black and transparent pink armor piece that goes alongside with all of the evil versions of the characters, and you can see what the alternate, more angry version of the head looks like. The second dagger here is actually technically built out of spare parts. She's only supposed to have one dagger, but they include parts to make two, so I figured why not include both. Lastly, in terms of characters for the set, you get this little kind of mushroom or plant type of seedling, dreamling sort of character here. It's a cute one. It's utilizing the large Big Fig style of head that they introduced for Thanos, and I think the juxtaposition of the large head with super tiny body is a very cute cartoony thing for this, but it's just not really that interesting as a character. You also get a copy of a brand new red panda or red fox mold, which is also present in some of the LEGO City sets. You can see this is nicely detailed with dual molding on the tail, the ears, and printing on the legs there, which is meant to mimic a smaller version of the large-scale build of the set. And then finally, the collectible of the set is the new dual molded Raven in black and transparent pink, and you have it capturing the miniature video game world, which is the gimmick for the Never Witch this season. You'll notice it's clutching onto this brand new mold of the transparent dome element, which is a cool modification of the original piece. But now, let's move on to the final build of the set, which is the red panda itself. I'm going to set aside these alternate extra flowers. You basically just have these left over as extra pieces, and obviously those are meant for the larger flowers in some of the other builds, and focus in on what you actually get with this version of the build itself. Now, you start off by building this large-scale torso element, and it's utilizing a relatively new windscreen element they introduced earlier this year for LEGO City, recolored in the new vibrant orange color, which is always a great recolor to get. The headpiece is easily the most interesting to me because it reminds me of a lot of the LEGO Elves headpieces that we got back when we were getting all sorts of unique creatures for LEGO Elves. It is specially molded, it feels more cartoony and like a Friends style of animal more than anything, but it is always good to get a brand new LEGO animal head mold, and one that I'm sure they will use for other creatures popping up in the rest of the LEGO Dream sets for the future. Articulation-wise, you can bend the front legs of the creature here, so they're mounted on ball joints, and you even have the flowers mounted on mixel joints, which is a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one, allowing you to really just play around with how you want the flowers to be posed. Of course, the legs are also mounted on mixel joints here, so you can kind of have it in a crouching pose, but unfortunately, The same cannot be said for the back legs. In fact, the back legs are literally fixed. You cannot bend them side to side, you can't bend them back and forth, they're not even on ratchets, they're just fixed. And because of that, the only thing that you can actually do with the back feet are move them on mixel joints, and thankfully you can bend the toes as well. This feels to me like obviously LEGO trying to maybe overcompensate by making this a lot easier for kids to play with by limiting the amount of articulation, but it does end up making it feel like the back legs are very, very stiff because they literally cannot bend out of the fixed pose they're in. Thankfully, because the front legs are so expressive, you tend to kind of not realize it. Like, this looks like a crouching or walking pose, even though the back legs are literally not even hitting the ground for this one. But it is what it is. It definitely is a byproduct of LEGO trying to make this set accessible to kids, and also probably to facilitate the alternate models as well. One of my favorite things about the build, though, is this brand new tail, and this tail is utilizing these super nice large-scale macaroni elements, which are new for LEGO Dreamzzz in this particular lineup of sets. I'm sure these are going to come in great handy when building future LEGO builds, but as it is right now, it has a really nice multicolored curve to the tail, which ends in a large flower on the top, which is just a nice little touch to have it almost be like a plant blooming on the top of the tail. I think that's a pretty cool aspect of this particular build. Otherwise, not much you can say about it. These stickers are just stuck onto the windscreen here, and you have a bit of a catapult for these little plants that you can fling at your enemies. At first, when I was building these, I thought these were like baby versions of this character, and maybe they are, which is maybe a little bit morbid that he's flinging baby versions of himself, but very, very funny. I'm all for that. All in all, this is a pretty mixed set for me. $40 absolutely feels like way too much for what you're actually getting with a build like this. It's not that much larger than even some of the $25 or $20 builds that we got for LEGO Dreamzzz before, and it does definitely feel disappointing, especially with some of the figures like Izzie clearly being made for dual molding but just not having it. It's a cute little model, and I do like it for what it is, but maybe this just isn't my thing. $40 though, I think, is just really, really high, and I think that this easily should be no more than $30. $35 is pushing it, and yes, I get that you made a new mold for this, and it's using a lot of big molds, like these are recolors in the new orange for these kind of quarter elements back there. You've got a recolor for this, you've got the new pieces being used here in great detail. But 40 is just a lot, and I do struggle to see how well this set would do at this price, although this may just be my opinion, and I do want to hear what you have to say as well. That's pretty much all I have to say about this one, and we can move on to the next set.
And with that, we have summed up our individual review of this LEGO Dreamzzz set. Let me know in the comments what you think, and be sure to like and subscribe to the official Duck Bricks YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.